Yeah, I've forgotten it. I'm going to drill a hole so we can mount a handle to rotate the ball turning attachment. And while I've got this on the horizontal mode, it'll clear the chips out the bottom of this hole better, so I'm going to drill it from here. Fire up the bad boy. See how we go. Chips are coming out real nice. Love it. Feels good. I'll measure that. When I'm reaming, I'll ream just a little short so the end doesn't catch and make it wander off. So I don't want stuff everywhere. So I'm going to use L puffer. Compressor will be too much for that. Right, I'm going to chamfer that hole now. Good out. And still super happy with my extension tool because countersinks are too short for me. We are back and vertical so that I can put my little grub screw in, stop the handle rotating and coming out. But it's the extreme longitudinal movement. I can go right the way to this way and do my horizontal hole, and then you have to come all the way back to do a vertical. So when you're doing bigger holes, it's amazing what this machine can accommodate. You know, you could have the table right up that end and be using a really big drill. Right, I'm just got the tap in on a sprung follower, so loading it up. But it's stiff to cut, and you feel like this is going to snap any moment. Carry on. Alright, so we've got a nice thread there, and I'm hoping somebody somewhere knew this guy. Possibly an apprentice piece, but what a fantastic blooming job he made of everything he did. I bought a pile of junk off eBay, or a random lot anyway, if nothing else, and there was a pile of his pieces in there. Just turned it from solid. Wow, cracking. Alright, we're just going to measure out how much to cut off to take this ear off the top and the bottom. So we've mounted the workpiece on an angle plate. There we go, that's my line. Eastern European vernier, really nice. That came from Black Dog Machines. Black Dog Machinery in Leeming Bar. Nice bunch of guys. Right, onward. So, next up we're going to cut these ears on the E-Speed mill, the old rotary table. We're centered there to give me a little bit more work holding scope. We've got a big old adapter plate. It's got a 3-hole pattern in it. It's got a 4-hole pattern in it, so that I can mount it on my 3 or 4-hole rotary table, and it gives me far more clamping options. I'll get that mounted. Yeah, it's always a chew getting things mounted on a rotary table. I've maxed out, this is centre, maxed out my fixture plate. What I'm going to do is just drill and tap a few more holes just so I can maximise my clamping. The holes just didn't fall in the right place, such as life. So that's a wowzer. We've got my parallel clamps, which have been doctored so I can use them as toe clamps. Got a couple of strap clamps at this end, and I've gone straight through the plate underneath and captured this end. So we're on centre. The piece of works raised up on a sacrificial, just peeping through there, sacrificial piece of aluminium, so I can cut through, and I'm going to hold my cutter in a, this is a Clarkson collet, but it's an old-fashioned one. It's the narrowest collet chuck I've got. I made a custom-made nut for it a while back, so this is where it pays off. So with these collets, these 2 little grubs at the end, I have to engage 2 little slots in the base. So you have a collet, a sleeve that goes over the collet, taper in the top of the sleeve, okay, that's tight there. So I've just backed off half a turn, tighten the cutter on, and that'll be it. And that's a skinny Clarkson for this application. So I couldn't get the table to come all the way around because I was fouling on these at the back as it got to here. So what I've been doing is just working this side, finding my stop. I couldn't set a stop because it was just blooming awkward. And then I'll reposition the table this away and cut round the other side. So slowly catch a monkey. We should be on about our final cut now. Okay, happy with that. This inner marking here is going to be an O-ring seal. Okay, so moving the table, I know that's my diameter there, so I'm coming right the way round. And then I'm going to jiggle around till I get this exactly where it should be. Then I'll set the stops underneath again, and I'll peck my way to it. Smashing! We're on the next corner here now, and I'm just knocking the corner off with my Dremel. Yeah, that was getting hot enough to make my finger feel a bit uncomfortable down here. I've melted off the rubber cover, but the diamond is cool, and we've cut the corner off, so I'm happy. Now I'm going to rough out the rough shape by just taking nibbles. Then connect the nibbles up. And then move the table a bit. I've been doing these in 4 passes, effectively making me a dust machine. I'm getting a smooth finish without any chatter on there. So, I'm happy. And I'm done. Okay, so I made a lot of dust, but we've got the ears nicely finished out. Righto, so we're just bringing this workpiece back on centre, which that looks good. Lock the quill. Lock the table. Lock the table. So we're back on centre. And what I'm going to do is set the stop, because next up I want to be absolutely sure that the table's not going to move on me. So I'm going to put a lock stop this way and this way down here. And this is just because I'm going to do a bit of boring, and all you need to do when you're boring is knock the blooming control and everything goes Pete Tong. So I'll lock that there and nip it and lock that there. Golden. Can you hear me? Alright, so the underside of this runs on a bearing sat in here, and I don't want tut getting into the bearing, so I want to get an O-ring in this space just here, and we've given up on measuring things now. We're just doing things, we're fitting. So I've taken a centre which just happens to fit, and from that taken a pair of dividers and mark where I want the centre of the O-ring to run, which is there. Then I've transferred that measurement from here to here, and now I'm going to mill out a section in this which will fit O-ring cord. So I can't buy the exact right size O-ring, so I bought O-ring cord from Simply Bearings, nitrile O-ring cord. I'm going to make a bearing, my own O-ring up over the top of that bearing to the right size. So We've taken a piece of tool steel, a blank piece of tool steel, and we've just put a little radiused cutter cut on the end of that, and we're going to mount that in the wall hub to head. So we're going to bore this out, and I've given it relief to go around the corners and face relief as well. Everything's 5 degrees, sort of. Well, we'll give this a go. So we've got yet another setup. We're on the war hub to head, and boring our way in. I'll check that cutter and see how we're getting on. Do some measurements. Yep, that was nasty, Chatter City. So even on my lower speed, I've jumped off the E-speed mill, jumped onto the ELT, and I'm going to be running this a wee bit slower. Anyway, what I'm going to do is do it with back gear and drop the speed down to about 200 RPM. And see if that's happier. It was cutting, but it wasn't pretty, wasn't nice. So reset the center, reset the piece, locked all the table off, rinse and repeat. We're coming along now. I've got a couple of pieces of my O-ring, and I'm putting a parallel on there so I know that I'm sitting across. And I'm at about 25 thousandths, and I want to be about 4 or 5 thousandths above the level. So, you know, I've got about 20 thou to go. So we've slowed the speed down to 50, and we put a grind back on it. But I'm pleased with that. Right, so got my parallel on there. My space is 0.15 millimeter, so almost 6 thou, which is great. There's the bearing will be sitting up by about 1,000th or so. It's in a square groove here, so that'll compress and not roll out and ride out the groove. And that should keep the tut from going up underneath. Alright, another day, another dollar. We've got the ears at the sides cut on. Now we're coming along, slowly working off this face till we blend it into here. And I'm going to get a rough idea of how much I've got to go here. I think the interesting thing is just to see the setups, give you some idea of what we're up to. We're getting down to the onion strokes now. We're just kissing that paintwork. With a long cutter, the top will cut and the bottom will miss. This is a tiny amount of flex. So I'm probably going to call it nuts on that, and then just finish that with handwork. Okay, I'm super pleased. We had die-com on here. It's taken the die-com off the top, left a little bit at the bottom. I've set this up with a dial gauge, and that's a really nice blend all the way along. I was expecting to run off at one end or the other, but anyway, that's great. I haven't moved the piece, haven't taken it out. I've thrown some more clamps on because I'm not going to foul a knucklehead. I've got to this stage before with other jobs, not clamped it enough, knacked the job. I can't see my dial on the hand gauge there, on the wheels and dials, because he's covered over. So this time I've put myself a clock gauge down here, and I'm doing 40 thousandths a cut, and I'm climb milling down the inside face. 10, 20, 30, 40 thou, lock the table into drive. Just jammed my finger in the collet, didn't I? Idiot. Never mind. Righto, I'm done here today. That's starting point. I needed it bigger, longer, taller. And here it is, bigger, longer, taller. That bit is essentially to there. I need to now make a pivot point for the thing to spin on. We've made a handle, bit of a relief for a dog point, screw here, little Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer ball there. That's a snick, neat fit, slips in real good. Finished there, looks nice and tidy. I've got to make a pivot to rotate the whole thing around, but the ELT's done smashing job, so thanks very much, and I'm a goner.